In today's episode, we're looking at people who took selfies with animals and got eaten alive, from a wildlife photographer who ignored warnings to a veterinary student whose compassion proved fatal. But first, we start in Thailand, where one tourist met a 400-pound Bengal tiger. It was March 15, 2019, in the lush hills surrounding Chiang Mai, Thailand, where dozens of unregulated wildlife sanctuaries operate in the shadows of legitimate conservation efforts. The Tiger Paradise Sanctuary, a small facility nestled between dense jungle and rice paddies, marketed itself as an authentic wildlife experience for adventurous tourists. Unlike accredited zoos, this establishment allowed direct contact with adult tigers for premium fees, capitalizing on visitors' desire for extraordinary social media content. The humid tropical air carried the scent of jasmine and tiger musk, while the distant sounds of motorbikes on rural roads mixed with occasional roars from the enclosures. Amber Whitfield, a 28-year-old social media manager from Sydney, had built a modest following of 4,200 Instagram followers by documenting her Southeast Asian backpacking adventure. Working for a small travel company back home, she understood the power of compelling visual content. Her competitive nature drove her to seek increasingly daring experiences that would set her apart from other travel bloggers. After reading mixed reviews about Tiger Paradise, she specifically chose this sanctuary because it offered the closest contact with tigers available in the region. The facility's promise of private photo sessions with adult Bengal tigers was exactly what she needed for her content strategy. Her previous posts from elephant sanctuaries and snake farms had generated significant engagement, fueling her desire for even more dramatic content. The sanctuary housed 12 tigers in concrete enclosures surrounded by basic chain-link fencing. Warning signs in broken English advised visitors to maintain distance, but enforcement was minimal. Staff members, mostly local workers with little formal training in animal behavior, prioritized customer satisfaction over safety protocols. The facility's main attraction was Raja, a 400-pound male Bengal tiger rescued from illegal captivity as a cub, but never properly socialized. His massive orange coat bore the distinctive black stripes that made him particularly photogenic, explaining why tourists specifically requested sessions with him. Bengal tigers are apex predators capable of taking down prey weighing over 1,000 pounds. Their powerful jaws generate bite forces exceeding 1,000 pounds per square inch, while their razor-sharp canine teeth can reach lengths of 2 inches. Despite their massive size, tigers can accelerate from 0 to 35 miles per hour in just a few strides. Their hunting instincts remain intact even in captivity, triggered by sudden movements, direct eye contact, or prey-like behavior from humans. Even hand-raised tigers retain their predatory programming, making them unpredictable around humans regardless of their apparent docility. Amber's private session with Raja began at 2:30 p.m. in a concrete enclosure measuring roughly 30 by 40 feet. The tiger appeared calm, lying in the shade near the back wall, while Amber maintained the recommended 10-foot distance. As she grew more confident, she gradually moved closer, encouraged by Raja's seemingly docile demeanor. The untrained staff member supervising the session failed to recognize the subtle signs of the tiger's increasing alertness, his ears rotating forward and his tail beginning to twitch. When Amber turned her back to Raja and extended her phone for a selfie, she unknowingly triggered the predator's hunting instincts. The massive tiger exploded into motion with terrifying speed, covering the distance between them in less than 2 seconds. His powerful hind legs propelled him forward in one fluid leap, his front paws extended and claws fully deployed. Raja's jaws clamped down on the back of Amber's neck with surgical precision. His 2-inch canine teeth penetrated between her cervical vertebrae, severing her spinal cord at the C2 level. The crushing force of his bite completely fractured her second cervical vertebra, causing immediate paralysis from the neck down. The tiger's massive jaw pressure compressed her carotid arteries and jugular veins, cutting off blood flow to her brain within seconds. The attack lasted less than 10 seconds. Raja's bite severed Amber's brainstem, causing instant unconsciousness and respiratory failure. Her nervous system shut down immediately, preventing any pain sensation from reaching her brain. The tiger released his grip and stepped back, his predatory instincts satisfied by the successful kill. Amber's body collapsed to the concrete floor, her phone still clutched in her right hand, the intended selfie never captured. Staff members rushed into the enclosure within minutes, but Amber showed no signs of life. Her neck displayed massive trauma from the tiger's bite, with deep puncture wounds marking where the canine teeth had penetrated. A complete severing of her spinal cord had caused immediate death, with no possibility of survival even with immediate medical intervention. Thai authorities launched an investigation into the facility's safety protocols and licensing status. Tiger Paradise Sanctuary was temporarily closed, pending review of its animal handling procedures. Amber's family released a brief statement requesting privacy while they processed the tragic loss of their adventurous daughter. Amber Whitfield's story showed how quickly a tiger's instincts can turn deadly when safety barriers are crossed. For Keith Renshaw, it wasn't an exotic predator, but Florida's ancient reptile that would prove just as lethal. It was June 8, 2020, in the vast wetlands of Big Cypress National Preserve, Florida, where private swampland stretches for miles through sawgrass prairies and cypress domes. The remote backcountry waterways, accessible only by airboat or shallow draft vessels, harbor some of America's largest alligator populations. During the peak of mating season, territorial male alligators become increasingly aggressive, defending prime nesting areas along muddy banks and shallow channels. The humid air hung thick with the scent of decaying vegetation and stagnant water. Keith Renshaw, a 35-year-old freelance wildlife photographer from Denver, had spent the last 3 years struggling to establish himself in the competitive nature photography market. His recent divorce had left him financially strained, desperately needing a breakthrough assignment to secure a potential contract with National Geographic. Keith's perfectionist personality and growing arrogance had led him to take increasingly dangerous risks for unique shots that other photographers wouldn't attempt. He had hired Jake Morrison, a local Seminole guide with decades of swamp experience, for an exclusive tour of restricted backcountry areas known for trophy-sized alligators. Keith's dismissive attitude toward local expertise and his obsession with capturing the perfect shot had already caused tension during their morning expedition. The preserve's waterways were experiencing peak alligator activity due to the June breeding season. Morrison had warned Keith repeatedly about the heightened aggression of territorial males, but the photographer's determination to capture dramatic images overshadowed his caution. They had spotted several large bulls throughout the day, but Keith remained unsatisfied with the distance and lighting conditions for his shots. American alligators are apex predators that have remained virtually unchanged for over 200 million years. Adult males can reach lengths of 14 feet and weights exceeding 1,000 pounds, with bite forces measuring nearly 3,000 pounds per square inch. During mating season, territorial bulls become extremely aggressive, defending prime nesting sites and responding violently to any perceived intrusion. Their powerful tails can propel them through water at speeds up to 25 miles per hour, while their explosive launch from water to land can cover distances of 6 feet vertically. Despite their bulky appearance, alligators possess lightning-fast reflexes and can remain motionless for hours before striking with devastating speed. At 3:45 p.m., Keith spotted a massive 12-foot bull alligator sunning on a muddy bank near a narrow channel. The reptile's scarred hide and impressive girth indicated an old, dominant male defending prime territory. Morrison immediately recognized the danger signs. The alligator's elevated position on the bank and its alert posture suggested heightened territorial awareness. Despite urgent warnings from his guide, Keith insisted on approaching closer for better photographic angles. Keith slowly waded into the murky water, his expensive camera equipment held high above the surface. The water reached his waist as he moved within 6 feet of the massive reptile, which remained motionless except for its eyes tracking his movement. Morrison shouted warnings from the boat, but Keith dismissed them as overcautious local superstition. The attack came without warning. The 12-foot bull exploded from the bank with terrifying speed, his massive body launching through the air before crashing into the water. His enormous jaws snapped shut around Keith's torso just below his ribcage, the 80 razor-sharp teeth puncturing through his abdomen and lower chest. The initial bite force of nearly 3,000 psi crushed several ribs and punctured his liver and stomach, causing immediate internal bleeding. The death roll began instantly. The alligator spun violently in the water, using his powerful tail and body weight to disorient his victim. Keith's body rotated helplessly as the spinning motion tore muscles and ligaments while forcing muddy water into his mouth and nose. The crushing pressure of the jaws compressed his internal organs as his ribs cracked audibly with each rotation. After 4 complete 360-degree spins, the alligator's grip shifted, allowing more water to flood Keith's airways. The massive reptile then began dragging Keith toward deeper water, maintaining his crushing grip while Keith's consciousness faded from oxygen deprivation. The muddy swamp water filled his lungs as he remained trapped in the alligator's jaws. Unable to surface or breathe, his struggles grew weaker as drowning combined with massive internal trauma from the crushing bite. The alligator held him underwater for nearly 3 minutes, ensuring his prey was completely subdued before releasing the lifeless body. Keith's body floated to the surface, showing extensive crush injuries across his torso and abdomen. The alligator's teeth had left deep puncture wounds, while the death roll had caused severe internal damage to his organs and skeletal structure. However, the primary cause of death was drowning, as swamp water had completely filled his lungs during the prolonged underwater struggle. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission launched an investigation into the incident, reviewing safety protocols for guided tours in alligator habitats during breeding season. Keith Renshaw's story showed how territorial predators turn deadly. For Darren Cole, it wasn't swamplands, but a Yellowstone grizzly that proved just as fatal. It was August 22, 2021, in the remote backcountry of Yellowstone National Park, Wyoming, where vast wilderness stretches across 2.2 million acres of untamed landscape. The Pelican Valley area serves as prime grizzly bear habitat during late summer berry season. Rolling hills covered in huckleberry bushes provide essential food sources for bears preparing for winter hibernation. The morning air carried the crisp scent of pine and distant elk bugles. Darren Cole, a 42-year-old IT consultant from Portland, had recently separated from his wife and sought solace in solo wilderness adventures. His weekend hiking trips had evolved into increasingly ambitious backcountry expeditions, fueled by an overconfident personality developed through years of incident-free outdoor experiences. Darren's stubborn nature and belief in his wilderness skills had made him dismissive of park safety guidelines, particularly regarding wildlife encounters. He adventured into Pelican Valley specifically because of recent grizzly sightings, hoping to photograph bears for his modest social media following of 3,800 outdoor enthusiasts. His expensive camera equipment and determination to capture unique wildlife images had driven him deeper into restricted areas than most visitors dared to explore. The late August timing coincided with peak bear activity, as grizzlies frantically consumed thousands of calories daily to prepare for winter denning. Female bears with cubs became especially protective during this critical feeding period, viewing any potential threat as a danger to their offspring's survival. Park rangers had posted warnings about increased bear activity throughout the backcountry, but Darren's confidence led him to ignore these advisories. Grizzly bears are North America's most formidable predators, with adult females weighing up to 400 pounds and males reaching 800 pounds. Their powerful limbs can propel them at speeds exceeding 35 miles per hour, while their 4-inch claws and massive jaw muscles make them capable of crushing bones with ease. A grizzly's bite force reaches 1,200 pounds per square inch, easily capable of crushing a human skull. Despite their bulk, grizzlies possess surprising agility and can navigate steep terrain with remarkable ease. Mother bears with cubs display extreme protective behavior, attacking perceived threats with devastating ferocity. At 2:15 p.m., Darren spotted a female grizzly with 2 yearling cubs foraging in a berry-rich meadow approximately 200 yards away. The 350-pound sow appeared focused on feeding, methodically stripping berries from bushes while her cubs played nearby. Darren immediately began photographing from his initial distance, but the lighting conditions failed to meet his perfectionist standards. He gradually moved closer, stopping periodically to capture images while the bear family continued feeding. The sow began displaying stress signals as Darren approached within 100 yards, huffing sounds, jaw popping, and swaying her massive head from side to side. These warning behaviors escalated when he reached 75 yards, but Darren misinterpreted them as normal bear behavior rather than clear threat displays. His movement pattern inadvertently positioned him between the mother and one of her cubs, triggering her protective instincts. When Darren advanced to within 50 yards for better photographic angles, the situation reached a critical threshold. One yearling cub wandered behind Darren's position, effectively trapping the human between the protective mother and her offspring. The sow's demeanor changed instantly from cautious awareness to explosive aggression. The grizzly charged at full speed, covering the 50-yard distance in less than 4 seconds. Her massive paws thundered against the ground as she closed the gap with terrifying velocity. Darren fumbled desperately for his bear spray, but the canister remained clipped to his backpack as the 350-pound predator struck him with tremendous force. The sow's initial blow came from her massive front paws, her 4-inch claws raking across Darren's chest and face. The impact knocked him backward onto the ground, opening deep gashes from his collarbone to his sternum. Blood immediately began flowing from the parallel claw marks as the bear's razor-sharp talons tore through muscle and tissue. Her second strike targeted his head, her powerful jaws clamping down on his skull with crushing force. The grizzly's bite generated over 1,200 pounds per square inch of pressure, fracturing Darren's skull and causing immediate brain trauma. Her canine teeth, each over an inch long, punctured through his scalp and penetrated the bone beneath. She shook him violently, the motion causing additional fractures to his cervical vertebrae and severe damage to his brain stem. The mauling continued for approximately 90 seconds as the protective mother ensured the threat to her cubs was completely eliminated. She struck repeatedly with her claws, opening his abdomen and exposing internal organs, while her powerful jaws delivered crushing bites to his torso and limbs. When Darren's movements ceased, the sow delivered one final bite to his neck before retreating to gather her cubs. Darren died from massive head trauma and blood loss within minutes of the attack's conclusion. The combination of skull fractures, brain damage, and severe hemorrhaging from multiple wounds proved immediately fatal. His body was discovered 4 hours later by park rangers. Yellowstone National Park officials launched an investigation into the incident, reviewing Darren's hiking permits and circumstances leading to the encounter. Darren Cole's story showed how protective instincts turn deadly when humans venture too close. For Shelby Grant, it wasn't mountain wilderness, but California's apex ocean predator that proved equally fatal. It was October 5th, 2022, off the rugged coastline of Año Nuevo State Park, California, where the Pacific Ocean meets dramatic cliffs and rocky outcroppings. This remote stretch of coast serves as critical habitat for elephant seals and harbor seals during breeding season. The area's abundant marine life creates a natural feeding ground that attracts some of the ocean's most formidable predators. Cold currents bring nutrient-rich waters close to shore, supporting massive populations of fish, seals, and sea lions. Shelby Grant, a 26-year-old graduate student in marine biology at UC Santa Barbara, was conducting independent research on great white shark behavior patterns for her doctoral thesis. Her academic confidence had convinced her that she could predict shark actions better than recreational surfers. Shelby's passionate but reckless personality often led her to take unnecessary risks that other researchers avoided. Her competitive drive to publish groundbreaking research had brought her to Año Nuevo specifically because of recent great white sightings. She maintained a modest social media presence of 4,500 followers, documenting her marine research adventures. The area was experiencing a significant boom in seal populations, which naturally attracted large predatory sharks. Recent reports from California Department of Fish and Wildlife had documented increased great white activity along this coastline, with several confirmed sightings of sharks exceeding 15 feet in length. Local surf shops had posted warnings warnings about elevated shark presence, but Shelby's academic background made her believe she possessed superior understanding of shark behavior. Great white sharks are the ocean's apex predators, capable of reaching lengths over 20 feet and weights exceeding 5,000 pounds. Their powerful tails can propel them through water at speeds up to 35 miles per hour, while their ability to launch themselves completely out of the water demonstrates incredible power. A great white's mouth contains up to 300 serrated teeth arranged in multiple rows, each designed to slice through flesh and bone with devastating efficiency. Their bite force can exceed 4,000 pounds per square inch, easily capable of severing human limbs. Great whites typically employ ambush tactics, attacking from below with explosive speed. At 11:30 a.m., Shelby paddled her surfboard to a position approximately 200 yards from shore, where water depth reached 40 feet. When she spotted a large dorsal fin cutting through the water 50 feet away, Shelby immediately recognized it as belonging to a massive great white shark. Rather than paddling to shore, she pulled out her waterproof camera and began filming the encounter. The 16-foot shark began circling her position in increasingly tight patterns, displaying typical investigative behavior. Shelby remained motionless on her surfboard, believing her knowledge would keep her safe. The great white's circles grew progressively smaller, bringing the massive predator within 20 feet of her position. Without warning, the massive great white launched its attack from directly below. The shark's explosive vertical assault lifted both Shelby and her board partially out of the water as its enormous jaws clamped down on her left leg and the surfboard's edge simultaneously. The impact generated tremendous force as 300 razor-sharp teeth sliced through her femur, completely severing her leg at mid-thigh level. The initial bite caused catastrophic trauma as the shark's serrated teeth cut through bone, muscle, and major blood vessels with surgical precision. Her femoral artery was completely severed, causing immediate massive hemorrhaging that turned the surrounding water crimson. The shark's 4,000 psi bite force crushed her femur into multiple fragments, while its teeth created deep lacerations extending from her hip to her knee. Following typical great white behavior, the shark immediately released Shelby and disappeared beneath the surface. This bite and release pattern occurs when sharks realize humans are not their preferred prey, but the damage was already catastrophic. Shelby remained conscious but in severe shock from the massive trauma and blood loss. Despite her devastating injuries, Shelby managed to climb back onto her damaged surfboard and began paddling desperately toward shore. Blood poured continuously from the severed femoral artery, creating an expanding red trail in the water. Her weakened condition made progress extremely slow. Other surfers spotted her distress from approximately 100 yards away and immediately began paddling to assist. However, Shelby had already lost massive amounts of blood during the critical minutes following the attack. She collapsed from her surfboard just 75 yards from shore, her strength completely depleted. The responding surfers reached her within 2 minutes and immediately began applying pressure to the massive wound while supporting her in the water. They rushed her toward shore while attempting to stem the hemorrhaging, but the severed femoral artery had already caused irreversible blood loss. Emergency medical personnel met them at the shoreline and began advanced trauma procedures, but Shelby had lost too much blood. She died on the beach from hemorrhagic shock, approximately 15 minutes after the initial attack. Shelby's family released a statement honoring her dedication to marine conservation. Shelby Grant's story showed how even expert knowledge cannot guarantee safety with apex predators. For Wesley Boone, it wasn't ocean depths, but one of humanity's closest relatives that proved equally unpredictable. It was January 12, 2023, at the Kibale Chimpanzee Rescue Sanctuary in the dense rainforests of western Uganda, where towering mahogany trees create a natural canopy over 30 acres of protected habitat. The facility serves as a rehabilitation center for chimpanzees rescued from illegal pet trade and bushmeat hunting. Morning mist hung heavy in the humid air as hooting calls echoed through the forest corridors. The sanctuary housed 47 rescued chimpanzees, many displaying behavioral issues from their traumatic captivity experiences. Wesley Boone, a 31-year-old veterinary student from Vancouver, had taken a gap year to gain hands-on experience with exotic animals. His compassionate but naive personality led him to anthropomorphize the chimpanzees, treating them more like intelligent humans than wild animals capable of extreme violence. Wesley's inexperience with primate behavior, combined with his overconfidence in animal handling skills, created a dangerous combination. He had been volunteering at the sanctuary for 3 months, documenting his experiences for his modest Instagram following of 3,200 followers. His desire to capture compelling content had driven him to seek increasingly close interactions, despite strict facility protocols prohibiting direct contact. The sanctuary's most challenging resident was Caesar, a 150-pound adult male chimpanzee, rescued from illegal captivity 2 years earlier. Caesar had been kept as a pet until he became too aggressive for his captors to handle. His history of abuse had left him with severe behavioral problems, including sudden violent outbursts triggered by direct eye contact, perceived challenges to his dominance, or unexpected movements. Staff members had repeatedly warned volunteers about Caesar's unpredictable nature and the strict protocols requiring barriers between humans and adult males. Chimpanzees are humanity's closest living relatives, sharing 98% of human DNA, but they possess physical capabilities that far exceed human strength and aggression. Adult male chimpanzees can weigh up to 200 pounds and possess arm strength 5 times greater than humans. Their canine teeth can reach lengths of 2 inches, designed for tearing flesh and establishing dominance through violence. Even hand-raised chimps retain their capacity for explosive violence, with attacks often targeting faces, hands, and genitals to inflict maximum damage. Their incredible grip strength can crush bones, while their speed makes escape nearly impossible. At 2:45 p.m., Wesley made the fatal decision to enter Caesar's enclosure while the large male appeared to be resting peacefully. He had observed Caesar for weeks and believed he understood the chimp's behavioral patterns well enough to predict safe interaction opportunities. Wesley quietly slipped through the enclosure gate, his phone ready to capture what he hoped would be an impressive selfie demonstrating his bond with the rescued primate. Caesar initially remained motionless as Wesley approached, sitting approximately 20 feet away near the back wall. The chimp's relaxed posture gave Wesley false confidence that the interaction would remain peaceful. As Wesley raised his phone and moved closer for the perfect shot, he made direct eye contact with Caesar while extending the device toward both of them. The eye contact triggered Caesar's aggressive response instantly. In chimpanzee social hierarchy, direct staring represents a challenge to dominance that demands violent retaliation. Caesar's hair stood on end as he bared his massive canine teeth and emitted a threatening scream. The attack began with explosive speed as Caesar charged across the enclosure, covering the distance in less than 3 seconds. His powerful arms grabbed Wesley's face with crushing force, his fingers digging into the soft tissue around his eyes and cheeks. Caesar's incredible grip strength immediately began crushing the delicate bones of Wesley's facial structure. Caesar's 2-inch canine teeth tore into Wesley's throat with surgical precision, puncturing his trachea and severing his carotid artery in one devastating bite. Blood immediately began pouring from the massive wound as Wesley's airway filled with fluid, preventing him from screaming. The chimp's powerful jaws maintained their grip on his throat, while his hands continued crushing Wesley's face and skull. The frenzied assault continued as Caesar bit off 2 of Wesley's fingers and tore away large sections of his scalp and left ear. The chimp's attacks were rapid and brutal, targeting the most vulnerable areas with devastating efficiency. Caesar's incredible strength allowed him to shake Wesley violently while maintaining his crushing grip. The violence lasted approximately 45 seconds before Caesar suddenly stopped attacking and retreated to the far corner of the enclosure. This abrupt cessation is typical of chimpanzee aggression, where explosive attacks end as quickly as they begin once dominance is established. Wesley collapsed to the concrete floor, his crushed windpipe preventing normal breathing, while massive blood loss from his severed carotid artery caused rapid deterioration. The combination of asphyxiation and hemorrhaging proved immediately fatal. He died within 2 minutes, his body showing extensive facial trauma, missing digits, and catastrophic throat injuries. Sanctuary staff discovered Wesley's body during the afternoon feeding routine 15 minutes later. Caesar remained in the corner, showing no further aggression, but clearly agitated. Ugandan wildlife authorities launched an investigation into the incident, reviewing safety protocols and volunteer supervision procedures. Wesley Boone's story demonstrated how humanity's closest relatives can turn lethal when their behavioral triggers are misunderstood. If you found these cases shocking, click the next video for more dangerous animal encounters that ended in disaster.